Right, hello. Welcome to the Crimewatch rewatch. Thank you for joining me on another sweltering day here in the UK. 26 degrees at 8 p.m. Yeah, make sure you keep yourself hydrated out there. So, what we're going to do here is the usual format. We're going to watch an old episode of Crimewatch. This is from June 1985. Give some thoughts, give some opinions, and then I'll let you know if I've been able to find out any more information on that particular case. Now, it's worth noting that this is actually Crimewatch's first birthday. Yeah, first edition, June 1984. So this is the episode where Crimewatch turns 1. Okay, and as ever, just make sure you're aware that these are, of course, real crimes with real victims, and sometimes the cases that come up are quite horrific. No, I made sure to remember the sound this time. You know, I checked it, I double checked it. So it'll probably still go wrong, but here we go. If this Crimewatch theme tune isn't playing, let me know.
Hello and welcome to
Way,
the
we're
program
there.
where you can help solve crime.
We got sound.
As always, what you see tonight will be for real,
So it's already
with
better
actual
than last
witnesses and
week's.
with information from police files never previously revealed. Maybe you'll find that you know something the police don't know.
Never
If so,
previously
the
revealed.
detectives behind me are waiting for your call.
In case you do see something you recognise, be ready to write things down. Here's the main number, 01 811 8055. But we'll have other numbers for you throughout the country. If you'd rather not
Joe, I'll
speak to a
probably
police
find I
officer,
put the
you can
wrong
talk in
episode
absolute
on.
confidence to a BBC researcher. And it really works. Thanks to your calls, Crimewatch has consistently achieved results.
In fact, this is the 10th edition of Crimewatch and it's our first anniversary. I can tell you that as a direct result of your calls over the
Happy
past
birthday,
year,
Crimewatch.
30 people have been arrested and many now face serious charges in connection with very violent crimes.
For example, last month, police investigating the murder of Pamela Reynolds in Worthing needed to trace a particular car. Well, a viewer, an off-duty policeman as it happens, recognised that car, called in, and a man was arrested in Betsy Coed in North Wales.
Yeah,
He
I
is
couldn't
now
tell
been
you much
charged
about
with
that car.
murder.
And still in North Wales, we asked for your help in solving the disappearance of Mrs. Mfanwe Jones, who went missing from her home in Cordwen on the 4th of January. Sadly, we
still
have
missing.
to report that last Friday in Bala, 15 miles away, Mrs. Jones's body was found. She'd been murdered. Police are now excavating the area in the search for Mrs. Peggy Goodman, who you may remember also lived in Cordwen
it's
and went
Peggy
missing in
Goodman who
December
haven't been found.
1982. We'll
Yeah,
keep you informed.
Mfanwe believed to have been
Last
killed by a
month,
local
we
farmer.
asked for help in the case of the Hastings fire in which 2 children died. We showed you this petrol can. It was found in the garden of the house where the fire started, and as a direct result of the programme, police are almost certain that the can was taken from a garage nearby. They're now pursuing this new line of inquiry.
Right.
It's probably completely unconnected now, but on Sunday, February the 3rd, the morning after the fire, the body of a man who'd shot himself was found on the beach at Eastbourne. Police have made an artist's impression because they're not able to identify
Okay.
the body. They're anxious to find out who he was,
Not necessarily
so they can inform
connected.
friends or
That's
relatives.
weird.
If you recognise him, please ring Hastings Police on 0424 425 000. That's 0424 for Hastings, 425 000.
In July last year, we appealed for information about the murder of Caroline Osborne from Leicester. We had a large number of helpful calls, but the killing
Did
nonetheless
find
remained
this
a
one
mystery.
had been
Then on April the 27th
solved.
this year, there was
Murderer had
another
actually
murder
committed
in
2
Leicester.
murders.
Amanda Whedon, a nurse, was found stabbed to death near the Gruby Road Hospital where she worked. A man was arrested in connection with that crime. He's subsequently been charged with both murders.
and last month's Aladdin's Cave of stolen property was our most successful yet. Every item but one from Cheshire Police, including all these porcelain figurines, proved to come from one burglary.
Is it West Sussex?
And many of the items Hertfordshire Police wanted to identify have now been claimed by their rightful owners.
We start this month with an armed robbery. Lothian and Borders Police, who asked for our help, say it was a miracle that no one was hurt in the affair. The reconstruction you're about to see is as accurate as possible, given eyewitness accounts. The robbers you see are, of course, actors, but they resemble eyewitness descriptions. Remember, people's memories aren't infallible, and no doubt it will emerge that some of the details turn out to be different. If you can give more information, or if you saw anything to do with the robbery, please do call us. It happened 3 months ago in Edinburgh.
A robbery to start.
The date is Friday, the 1st of March. The people of Edinburgh are to witness an extraordinary chase through the main streets of the city. This is Waterloo Place in the centre of Edinburgh. At 4:30 p.m, this blue Ford Cortina with 3 men inside stopped opposite the Edinburgh housing offices.
The Ford Cortina was the criminal's car of choice in the 80s.
One man stayed outside and one went inside as though he was a council tenant here to pay his rent. But instead of going to the counter, he sat with cleaners who were waiting for the offices to close.
Well, that's suspicious anyway.
Several minutes later, a Securicorps van arrives to collect the day's takings from the cashiers,
and sits in
leaving
with
a guard to keep watch in the back of the van.
That'd make you immediately suspicious. It's badly drawn boy.
Normally, the guards would have collected the money and come straight out. But today, the cashiers weren't ready, and there was a 15-minute wait.
That must be frustrating for the criminal mind.
This long delay enabled witnesses in the building to give a very full description of one of the robbers. He seemed about 30 years old, 6 feet tall, well built with black, straggly, unwashed hair and a scruffy moustache. He had a pale complexion.
Take away the moustache, and I think that's Noel Gallagher.
It's now 4:45 p.m. It seems that by looking through the window into the cashier's office, the accomplice outside was able to give a signal that the guards were about to emerge.
Get down! Get down!
Attack, 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 394, Housing Department, Waterloo Place.
Get down! Hold on, get down!
What was that weird little dance?
At the front! Come on, get a foot down!
Good question. Where were the Securicorps people while this was going on?
Come on! Run this side, the most magic. Come on, get a foot down! Shut up!
Don't be confused, you have not tuned into an episode of The Sweeney. Or even The Bill.
Where is it? Hey! Bastard, still behind us!
Yeah, but even if the Securico van could catch up to them, what are they actually going to do? Because as far as I'm aware, Securico guards, they don't carry guns.
The second impact caused the van to swerve and hit a parked car. As the Cortina sped down the Royal Mile, the robbers found they were on their own. For the moment, they'd got away.
Turn right!
At the bottom of the Royal Mile, they swerved right into the car park of Scottish and Newcastle breweries. The van had lost them from its sight and drove straight past.
The car was lost amongst all the other Cortinas.
Over a dozen witnesses saw the men running through the car park. Several said that one was now wearing a bright red sweater. The Securico van had lost them, and with a burst radiator, it had to give up the chase. Inspector Tom Snedden is the detective now hunting for the robbers.
Okay, so yeah, that was an exciting car chase to start us off with. Yeah, not too much to say on it so far. We'll hear what the detectives have to say.
How can the public help?
Well, I would ask anyone who witnessed the robbery or the subsequent chase through the streets of Edinburgh to contact us if we've not already interviewed them.
Now, as we said, we've got a very good description of at least one of the robbers. Just tell us again what we know about him.
I think it's important to emphasise the point that the men are actors. The description of the gunman, he's
don't dob in the actors.
30 years of age. He's well built. He was unshaven. He's got a moustache. He's got black straggly hair. It's unwashed, falling over his forehead. We know for a fact that he was wearing a blue parka jacket with a hood which is trimmed with fur.
Right, and the second man?
The second man and the third man, they're both rather patchy, the descriptions. The second man's approximately 25 to 30 years. He's 5'7". He's well built. He's unshaven. He's possibly got a beard. He was wearing a ski cap, either brown or green, and a green jacket. The driver, who's the third man, he, in fact, has got short hair. He's about 27. He's clean shaven.
Is that Robert Carlyle's character in Trainspotting?
He's possibly got a bad complexion, pockmarked or spotted face.
Now, you mentioned things that they were wearing. On the other hand, when we saw them in the last shot as they were escaping from the car park, one of them, it seemed, was wearing a bright red pullover as they ran off into Holyrood Road.
That's correct. We believe that, in fact, they've changed clothes in the car. You would also notice that they were only carrying one bag because there was 4 bags stolen, and we believe they've put them into one hold all.
Right. Now, presumably you lost sight of them after the car park, so you want anybody who might have seen suspicious people running away beyond that point?
That is correct. Anyone in a wearing a red jersey or carrying a hold all in the area of...
These days, you'd expect they'd have CCTV.
Now, I mentioned that the car had been stolen from Glasgow the day before, which was, if I remember correctly, February the 28th. It was stolen in Glasgow. The registration number, I've got it here, SSF 701V. Yes. Now, you need to know more about that car, presumably, where it was in the intervening 24 hours.
The car was stolen from Langside College Car Park, which is near Battlefield Road in Glasgow. It was stolen approximately between 7:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. And we would appeal to anyone who saw the car between these times and the time of the robbery to come forward.
Right, so it's the car you need to trace in that intervening 24 hours, though you've obviously got it back now.
Yes.
You need to find any of the 3 men responsible. You want to see anybody who saw the chase, whether or not they feel they've anything important to tell you.
That is correct, because these men...
If you saw that chase like that, I'm sure you'd remember
it. And not necessarily from Edinburgh. And I would appeal to anybody who, in fact, either knows the men from the descriptions or think they know them to contact myself or the numbers given, and they can speak to us in confidence.
All right, Inspector Snedden, thank you. The number to ring, if you can help, is 01811 8055. Or you can call Lothian and Borders Police directly on Edinburgh 311 3131. That's 031, the code for Edinburgh, 311 3131.
Okay. All right. So Edinburgh Housing Council Department getting robbed. Very exciting car chase scene there. For Crimewatch standards, that's a relatively big production. But yeah. So have I been able to find anything on it? Unfortunately, not really. You'd think there would be with all those little details. You know, I was able to find the original story, which basically just tells the same as we've just seen there. Robbery from Edinburgh Housing. There's car chase and a blue Ford Cortina, the 80s criminal's car of choice. But yeah, haven't been able to find anything after that, which is disappointing. Which I guess may mean that they never did catch up with these robbers. But I may be wrong. As I said, I don't watch ahead in these episodes, so maybe on the next one we'll see that, oh, actually they were all taken into custody. Right, so we'll move on to the next story. I will give advance warning. Yeah, this is a very sad story. It's very horrific story. So, yeah, there's your disclaimer.
It was about this time last year that the papers were headlining the disappearance of 7-year-old Mark Tilsley from Wokingham. Despite a huge police inquiry, there's still no trace of Mark. It's a long shot, perhaps, hoping for new witnesses a year on. After all, hundreds of people have already tried to help. But Thames Valley Police have asked us to use the anniversary, which was 2 weeks ago now, to film a reconstruction and see if we could still jog a memory and provide a new and vital clue. Mark's home is in Wokingham, 10 miles from Reading in Berkshire.
The fair was back in Wokingham this weekend, on the same ground at Wellington Road, where it's been each May or June for 50 years. Mark's home, too, was in the centre of Wokingham. The fair was a 5-minute bike ride away. It's 50 miles away. On Friday, the 1st of June last year, at 7:20 in the morning, a lorry stops for a hitchhiker on the A30.
Going to Wokingham? Yeah.
The driver, Shane Northway, picked up his passenger 20 miles east of Salisbury, just outside Stockbridge. He remembers the man well.
He had there was a little bit of odour there, and you could see he'd been sleeping rough. There was dirt all around the collar of his shirt. His Mac was really filthy on the inside, red lining. Where you going, mate?
Tachograph.
Making my way around the country looking for work.
He was in the cab with me for about 2 3/4 hours, and I eventually dropped him off just past the fairground in Wokingham.
Yeah, you can drop me off here, mate, if you like.
I'll just pull down the road out the way of the traffic.
All right.
When the man got out, he headed back up Wellington Road towards the fairground. It was a busy time on the main road, and someone must have seen him.
Yeah, this may or may not be related. They were really
Mark's
just
mother left home at 5:15
clutching at straws
to go to work.
with a
She
lot of
hasn't
these.
seen Mark since.
Bye.
Mark left the house half an hour later. telling his father he was going to the fair. He was a quiet, shy boy, often to be seen on his bike in the town centre. The tiger jacket he wore that day was eye-catching and distinctive. Eyewitness accounts confirm that Mark was at the fair by 6:30 that evening. 2 witnesses recall that a man appeared to be watching Mark.
Sinister fairgrounds. It feels almost cliche.
Police are also certain that an hour and a quarter later, Mark was still at the fair, now on the Dodgems. It's possible that the man who was with him was the same man who earlier had been watching him. He was about 6 feet tall, with scruffy hair, very similar to the man dropped off earlier in the day by the lorry driver. Except this man had glasses. About 8 p.m, Mark leaves the fairground with the same man. Though he left his bike behind, Mark appears to have left the fair quite willingly.
Correct for 2 points. Challenge or tell me yourself.
It was this man, David Hine, who may have been the last person to see Mark Tildesley that Friday evening. If it was Mark, he was in Langborough Road, apparently with the same man he'd been with at the fair. Mark has never been seen again. His mother still refuses to believe the worst.
I still say someone's got him and they're living rough or something, because it's a mother's instinct. I know he's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we still hope so. Detective Superintendent Tony Miller is now in charge of this investigation. Now,
did they find his bike? Yeah, I think so, because I think that was because I think they found that at the fairgrounds. I think so. I mean, I have to check the detail for that. Okay, but yeah, very sad case, Mark Tildesley's disappearance. I do have more details to give on this. But yeah, we'll let the detective here give his piece.
How likely is it that the hitchhiker, the man there at the fair, and the man we just seen in Langborough Road are one and the same man, in fact?
Quite frankly, we can't say positively. What I can say is I'm fairly sure that the man seen at the fair and the man in Langborough Road are one and the same. You will recall the description given of the man who had the lift by the lorry driver. It's not dissimilar to the man at the fairground. In fact, he was about 45 to 60 years of age. He had grey hair, browning, and indeed he was described as having a long nose. This was a feature about him.
That looks like
and
Nicholas
also a beard
Lyndhurst.
growth, which indeed matched the man who was given the lift.
Now, the man seen at the fair had spectacles on. So if we look at our video fit, we can see what he might look like with glasses on. Right. Now, the hitchhiker in the lorry wasn't wearing any glasses, was he?
Indeed he wasn't, and indeed the man in Langborough Road wasn't. But other than that, the descriptions are very, very similar.
So what you want to do is for the man who was hitchhiking that ride in the lorry that day to at least come forward so that you can eliminate him.
Indeed we would, yes.
But if we can recap on his movements that day, the lorry driver picked up the hitchhiker on Friday the 1st of June, and that was just west of Stockbridge, and at 7:20 in the morning.
Away from Wokingham.
They then travelled up the A30 and along the M3 and reached Wokingham at about 10 to 10, again that morning, and the driver dropped him off in Wellington Road near to the fair. Now, do we know where he went after that?
We don't, but perhaps we could start by going back to the commencement of that journey, and you will recall that he had a tachograph in his hand.
Oh, okay, a tachograph. Okay.
As the viewers can see. The reason I take you back there is because indeed this man may have been a lorry driver. If he was, other persons may have given him a lift from Wokingham. If, in fact, they did, we'd like them to come forward.
We should say that anybody who hitches the lift with one of the tachograph is saying to a lorry driver that he's another lorry driver.
Indeed, that gives the indication, yes. In addition to that, there was a conversation by
lorry
the
driver
with
code.
the lorry driver to the effect he was looking for casual labour fruit picking. I'd like to hear from anyone who gave employment of that nature to a man of that
Yeah,
description.
you did. You
So
did.
somebody
You
might
did
remember picking up
tell
somebody
me.
with a tachograph, because that was quite distinctive.
Indeed, they might. As we've emphasised, if nothing else, we want to eliminate this man from the inquiry.
Right. Now, you've traced so far about 400 people who were actually at the fair on that day. How many more people do you think you need to see? How many more people were there?
I can't answer how many people were there, but what I can say is I want to speak to every person who went at the fair that evening. Indeed, let us be the judge of what they saw as to whether it's of evidential value. Please come forward and contact us.
And just once again, we've seen the jacket in the film. Let's have one more look at it. You brought it a facsimile of the jacket in with the tiger motif.
Indeed. That's the jacket, very similar to the jacket that Mark was wearing. And that might indeed attract the attention of persons that night.
Right, so to sum up, you need to find the hitchhiker on that day, the one who arrived in the lorry, anybody else who was at the fair that day to come forward, who hasn't come forward already, and the man in Langborough Road, who was seen in Langborough Road towards the evening.
Indeed we would. In addition to that, I would also like to say, as a parent, as I'm sure many of the viewers are parents, we can only imagine the anguish this family have faced over the last 12 months. We will pursue the inquiry relentlessly. Please, if anyone has any information additional to what we've asked for, please come forward and contact us.
Thank you very much indeed. And if you think you know anything that might help us to find Mark, here's the number again, 01811 8055. Or you can ring Thames Valley Police at Reading on 0734 585 111. That's 0734, the code for Reading, 585 111.
Okay. All right. So I'll just move on. So I don't know if the hitchhiking guide ever did actually come to be of any significance, but I can tell you in the case of Mark Tilsley, so his body has never been found. Okay, but he is known to have been murdered. So originally, a convicted pedo called Leslie Bailey, he had initially tried to put the blame onto another guy called Sidney Cook, who he claims had disposed of the body. He says he was given a letter in prison in which detail where his body had been buried, but they've never been able to find that. So Sidney Cook never stood trial for his killing, but Leslie Bailey he pled guilty to the murder in 1992, and he was given 2 life sentences because he was already on trial for the murder of another child, Jason Swift. Okay, and it seems that both Bailey and Sidney Cook were part of a whole ring called the Dirty Dozen, who are believed to have been responsible for the killings of at least 25 children throughout the 1980s. So yeah, so unfortunately, never any real closure for the parents who his father passed away in 2005 and his mother passed away in 2011. Okay, so we'll move on to the next ones.
On the Crimewatch incident desk last month, we asked for information about the disappearance of Mrs. Evelyn Ake from her home in Northallerton. We've heard today that a man has been charged with her murder.
The man who was charged with a murder was in fact her husband, who had already killed her, and sent the police out on a wild goose chase, following loads of little fake clues.
With this month's cases, here are Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First on incident desk, 2 men in Birmingham who've been regular visitors to the Leeds Permanent Building Society. On the 20th of March this year, they robbed the Sheldon branch, and this is the film from the security camera. If we stop there, we get a good look at the one with the gun. He's about 5'8" and well built. He wore brown trousers and a grey anorak. Perhaps someone will recognise the other man despite his false beard and moustache. He's only 5'6", very slim with short dark hair. He wore jeans and a black jacket. This method is the same they've used on other occasions. They've robbed at least 2 other building societies on the 26th of February in Spark Hill and most recently on the 11th of April in Quinton, both in Birmingham. So if you recognise either or both of them, give us a ring.
On 3 occasions.
Okay, so this one, so I haven't been able to trace these guys to see if they were ever caught, because the trouble with trouble with these where they're robbing building societies is it's not that I can't find information on building societies being robbed in the 1980s. It's that it seemed if you worked in a building society in the 1980s, you were being robbed every other week. So you know, I can find plenty of stories, but it's hard to just pin specifics to each case. So one thing I did find, which I thought was quite interesting, was an unintentional offshoot from Crimewatch, where criminals were watching the show and then taking inspiration from it for how they were carrying out their robberies. So yeah, not specifically relevant to this case, but I just came across that and thought that was quite interesting. Moving on.
In February and March this year, a man called on families in the Stepney area of East London. He is claimed to be a health official and a doctor. In fact, on every occasion, he indecently assaulted members of the families concerned. He's described as well-built, 5'7" to 5'8", and thought to be aged between 30 and 40. If you think you recognise him, give us a call. And a general word of warning. If a doctor calls on you unrequested and asks to do a medical examination, call the police. Real doctors don't make house calls unless you've asked for them. And should anyone
That's just good advice in general.
Ask to see their identity
even
card.
if they do say that.
This is one from Stepney, but they may look a little different in other areas. If they haven't got a card, don't let them in.
On Sunday, May the 12th.
Okay. So in this particular case, haven't been able to confirm whether this one what was caught. I found a follow-up story. This is from December 1985, and it's basically says the same as they've just said there, but it's believed to have had I think it's 6 different victims since then. So yeah, unfortunately, that's where the trail went cold on this one. Hopefully, more luck in a future edition.
Well, a hand grenade was found in Station Road, Beaconsfield in Buckinghamshire. The area was sealed off except for 4 builders working near a boutique who were allowed to stay where they were. At least it was assumed they were builders. In fact, they were actually thieves. The bomb scare was a coincidence, but while it lasted, the men loaded up about £120,000 worth of designer clothes and shoes. They appeared in Vogue last month, and they're very distinctive. Names like Jasper Conran, Roland Klein,
the robbers,
and Caroline
they appeared
Charles,
in Vogue,
and are rarely offered at sale prices. These are exact copies of the stolen dresses. They would normally cost over £300 each. And have you seen any of the Charles Jourdain shoes which were carted out of the shop in brown rubbish bags? All 300 pairs of them. And a final clue, the robbers used this jemmy to break in. It's made by Keen Tools and was probably sold in a small hardware shop where they've written the price on in felt tip. If you've sold it or if you've seen the dresses, we'd love to hear from you.
£4.95.
This is Whittington Hospital, which
Is
is
that
in
a good price? I don't know. All right, so this one, yeah, haven't been able to find out if these robbers ever did get caught, but I have found the original story. And David, he's really undersold these robbers. Cool as brass. So the police find this unexpected hand grenade. They cordon off the whole area, and bold as brass, the thieves just walk up to the police and ask, "Yeah, can we just carry on doing our work?" Of course, it turns out their work was actually robbing this clothes store. But sort of admire the boldness of it. But yeah, haven't been able to find if they were ever brought to justice, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's not a great hit rate for me this week.
Highgate in North London. On the 28th of May, 110 patients had to be evacuated because of a fire which was started deliberately. The damage to the building was estimated to be over £500,000, but thankfully, although lives were threatened, no one was actually hurt. The 28th of May was a Tuesday, the day after the bank holiday Monday, and the fire was discovered in a corridor at 8:50 p.m. in the archway wing, only yards from acutely ill patients. It's believed the fire was started by someone setting alight cardboard boxes and linen baskets. Even if you think you can't help, we want to hear from everyone who visited the archway wing of the hospital on Tuesday, 28th of May, between 8 and 9 p.m, particularly visitors
so
in wards
even if you
A1
can't
to
help,
A5.
give them a call.
Thames Valley Police need your help.
All right. So this one is completely disco. And as we all know, I am redefining the word disco to mean annoying or bad. I couldn't find any details. You'd think a fire in a hospital would be easy to find, but no, I haven't been able to locate it. So I don't know what happened next with this story, I'm afraid. And that is completely disco.
To clear up a fraud. On the 15th of March, over £168,000 cash was paid out for some heavy plant machinery. The machinery was never delivered and the cash just disappeared. Detectives believe that this man, David Beatles, may be able to help their inquiry. Mr. Beatles and his wife and 2 children have left their home in Wokingham. But he has connections in the Andover area, and we understand that he did have plans to buy a guest house in the West Country. So if you're an estate agent in the West Country, or if you've seen this man in your local, please give us a ring.
And finally, a bit of a mystery.
Right. So this one I was able to find, and that's good because I can never find anything when it comes to fraud cases. But this one, yeah, I absolutely found it. David Beatles, 42, took £164,500 in notes, bought 6,000 Mercedes with his fraudulently obtained money. Okay, and he pleaded guilty to fraud in Reading Crown Court, and he was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. So yeah, and it's another success for Crimewatch on here because it was just a viewer who just happened to be watching at the time and saw his photo come up. And yeah, what a good advertisement for Crimewatch and why you shouldn't watch ITV.
Sussex police need to find out where these came from. The brass crucifix would have had coloured enamel here, but most of it's worn off. And the candlesticks are both the same height, but made for candles of differing thickness. They look as though they may have once belonged in a church. Now, we can't tell you yet the story that lies behind
I think they
these
might have
objects,
come from a
but if you
church.
can tell us where they definitely came from, we may have an intriguing tale to tell you next month.
And if you've anything to tell us about the cases on this month's incident...
Right, so Helen didn't really give us many details to go on there. You'd have to call in, and then they might tell you more about what's happened with there. So yeah, Helen's taken us all to the disco on that one.
Desk, do give us a call.
And the number to ring if you can help in any way is 01811 8055. 01811 8055.
As you'll have observed, some of the reconstructions we show on Crimewatch are necessarily vivid and disturbing. In July last year, we reconstructed an attack on the customers of a pub in Liverpool. The violence that we showed so appalled some viewers that they were moved to give information. One of them was actually a criminal himself.
Yep, they were shot in by a fellow criminal.
Merseyside police arrested 2 men, and last week one was sentenced to 12 and the other to 16 years imprisonment. Our final case tonight is equally shocking. Again, we're showing you exactly what happened in the hope that someone, once again, will come forward.
In the early hours of April the 22nd, Wallace and Mary Foster were attacked in their home in Surrey. The motive was clearly robbery, but because the attackers were so violent, they must be caught before they strike again. The language and the action is as accurate as possible. Our reconstruction begins at the
as accurate
home
as
at
possible
Church House Antiques in
for
Weybridge.
the BBC in the 80s.
Wallace and Mary Foster had retired to bed at about 11:30 that night. The younger of their 2 sons, Zenos, was asleep in the next room. The older one, James, slept on the other side of the house, above the shop. He very often went downstairs in the middle of the night to raid the fridge, so his parents were used to hearing occasional noises.
Kids.
It was just about 2 o'clock in the morning when intruders crept round the side of the house and into the back garden. There was no alarm system. The 2 men jemmied open the French windows unheard. Wallace Foster was woken by noises inside the house. Then he heard the sound of the sliding door at the bottom of the stairs.
Is that you, James?
Yeah.
Got problems.
As if that was ever going to work.
Get back! Back! The gun's loaded on soap! Okay, you want to have a go, do
Both men spoke with London, though not Cockney, accents. The dark-skinned man was in his late 20s to early 30s and heavily built. The white man was slim and looked younger than his partner.
You got any belts? Dressing room, you'll find some. What's this then, eh? It's an air rifle. Don't look like an air rifle to me. Antique, is it?
An antique air rifle.
They were well enough informed about the family to know that they had 2 sons, and they knew Mrs. Foster's first name, Mary.
I'll cut it out, lads. I've got kids in the house. Why don't you just take the money and go? All right, who's in the room next door, eh? He's 5. Leave him alone. He'll sleep right through this. The very sound sleep. Where's the other one, eh?
So they must have been watching the place for a while.
You got a telephone in there?
Only an extension.
Yeah, well, we'll hear it if he picks it up.
Yeah, we'll hear it.
So it's the gun you're interested in, is it? Well, it's loaded, see? And there's the shells.
Pick up pillowcase, Pat. Right, you got any suitcases? You're gonna open the safe.
Keys to the safe. Does she know how to open the safe?
Of course she knows how to open the safe. Check this, antique suitcases.
Very nice.
Come on, you. Up. Come on, do you want some of this?
What was she smiling at there?
Come on. Move it. Down them stairs. Come on, Mary. There's Mary in it. Get in there. Right then. Let's see what you've got, eh? Yeah. Now listen, if you don't do what I say, you're going to get hurt real bad. Understand? You're going to get raped. I've done this before, you know. Get over there and get a safe open.
Quality BBC drama.
Come on, open it, woman. Come on.
I warn you, I'm not used to opening this.
Just get it done, will you? Come on, hurry it up. Right.
But I've got it wrong.
You
slag! There are 4 numbers, and it's very difficult. So please, if you calm down, I'll be able to...
Come on, get this thing open, or you've got to get it real bad. Get it done, come on, for Christ's sake.
That does seem a really complicated safe.
It's the only place you keep valuables.
In his hurry to grab as much as he could from the safe, the robber let a silver dish fall onto the floor.
Stay there, you won't get hurt,
Oh, not...
all right?
Amateur move.
What's going on? What's up?
It's all right. Don't worry. It's sweet. Get back upstairs.
Don't worry about the silver. Just take the cash, all right?
Yeah.
Wallace was shot twice in the stomach before he managed to fire his gun, narrowly missing the villain's head.
Well,
as he did so, a third shot hit him in the
didn't
groin.
hit anything important.
I've shot him. He's got a gun. Come on.
Shit.
In that final struggle, Mary was punched viciously in the face. The men escaped, leaving almost everything behind except about £2,000 in cash and a few items of jewellery. Well, that was a month ago. Detective Superintendent John Gladwell.
Yeah, I think even Dick Van Dyke would have been embarrassed by that accent. Although they did state they're from London, but they're not Cockney. So yeah, that was a quite a dramatic one there with the home invaders. So yeah, we'll see what the police have to say on here.
Well, how are Mr. and Mrs. Foster now?
They're both remarkably well. Mrs. Foster has slight bruising to the face. Mr. Foster has a bullet still lodged in the base of his spine, which is causing him some concern and a little pain. But apart from that, doing very well.
Well, perhaps we can try and help find those violent robbers tonight. There's quite a bit to go on, isn't there? We've had several witnesses come forward already.
Yes, we have.
Perhaps we've got a reconstruction of one witness who saw on the Saturday before the actual crime, in the afternoon. He's a driver of this car. He saw 2 men walking towards Church House Antiques.
Oh, that's the antique store that they own. I don't know if they actually...
Now, the white man stopped to peer in the shop window, while the black man continued walking past the witness's car and then out of his sight. We don't know what he did in those few moments, but he couldn't see him. Then, after a while, the black man returned and joined his companion at the shop window. They then walked back the same way they'd come.
Seems they're a
Which is slightly unusual behaviour. Have you got descriptions for those 2 men?
Yes, we have. A better description of the black man than the white man, but the black man was 30 to 32 years of age, 5'8" to 9, stocky build, about 12 or 13
30 to 32 is very specific.
And the white man was the same age, 30 to 32, again 5'8" to 5'9", slim to medium build.
Right, the black man was heavy, the white man was slim.
That's right.
Now, there were about 3 hours before the attack took place, there were several witnesses who report seeing 2 very particular cars which were cruising around very close to Church House Antiques. It was a woman who noticed a pale blue Jaguar. She was in this car. She noticed a pale blue Jaguar and a metallic-coloured Rover driving into the car park of KBC Limited, where she works. She'd stopped off to check security at the firm. Now, as she went into the car park, she saw 2 young women sitting in the Rover, and they were calling out to 2 men in the Jaguar. Now, as the witness walked back, the Jaguar pulled out of the car park, and she particularly noticed that the driver was wearing a camouflage jacket. The Rover then followed with the 2 young women.
I mean, that's strange, but I don't know
there's
that
one
that's
other sighting, in fact, wasn't there? So we're going to have a look at that in a minute. Here it is. It was about 20 minutes later, a taxi driver passing Church House Antiques, and he had to slow down to avoid 2 parked cars. One of those parked cars was a Jaguar, and the other one a Rover. So do you think those 2 cars were linked with the crime? They were very close, weren't they?
Yes, indeed they were. They were, in fact, seen 3 times. The first time was at 10:20 in a nearby car park.
It seems an unnecessary complication to the plan.
The Jaguar was wearing the camouflage jacket, which was similar to the camouflage jacket worn by the white intruder. We've had no stolen vehicles from our area. We've had no stolen vehicles found abandoned in our area. So we've reason to believe that the people that committed this crime used their own vehicle.
And the taxi driver, our second witness, was carrying 2 passengers at the time, and they haven't come forward yet.
Dumb thing to do.
Right. He was carrying a male and a female who he had picked up from Hussein's restaurant in Weybridge, and he had dropped them off in Sunnyside at Walton-on-Thames. And although we've appealed locally, they haven't yet come forward, and I appeal to them to come forward tonight.
Now, the 2 robbers left behind
seems
one
strange, but I don't
vital
think that
clue. That canvas
would be a
bag.
part
yes,
of it.
It's a common bag, but inside, painted in yellow, is a number which may mean something to somebody. It's 113, then there's a gap, and then the figure 8, and on the line underneath, the letter S or the figure 5.
So that could be vital if somebody can tell us where that came from.
Yes, indeed, I would.
What exactly, in the end, did they get away with? It wasn't very much in the end.
No, just a few pieces of jewellery, 3 in particular. We're very interested in because there's only been 2 of this kind made.
Those 2 pieces on the screen now.
Very
There
pretty.
have only ever been 2 of each one.
Check
ever
your
made.
jewellery box.
So,
And I would ask that if anybody has bought these items or they've been offered for sale, if they could
Well, the bottom one looks like it's made
once
of
again, there's a lot
Lego.
of distinctive information. There's those pieces of jewellery. There are the 2 cars which were seen in the area. Anything else you'd like people to come forward with to help you?
Yes, if we're right in our assumption that the Rover and the Jaguar are involved in our offence, then obviously these vehicles were in the Weybridge area for some 3.5 hours. And I would ask any person that was in the Weybridge area, particularly in the area of Church Street, to come forward if they haven't already been spoken to by a police officer.
And there was one anonymous caller you told me about who you'd like to call you again.
Yes, on the Sunday after the offence, anonymous male phoned Mrs. Foster at home and gave certain information about the black man, and I would ask him to come forward in confidence.
Interesting.
This was a particularly violent attack, and we must catch these men before they strike again. Mr. Foster, fortunately, was very, very lucky, but if they do strike again, the next victim may not be quite so fortunate.
Mr. Gladwell, thank you very much indeed.
Okay.
Indeed, we did.
All right. So it's interesting. I don't know if the Jaguar and the Rover, I don't know if they really would have been involved. That just seems like it's a bit amateurish if they're using their own cars. Why would you need 2 cars for this anyway? That doesn't make sense. Yeah. No disco this time. Well, okay, I mean, here's disco, but not in regards to this case. This one, I do know what happened, and actually, it is it has a sad ending to it. I won't lie. So yeah, they did catch the 2 robbers, and they were brought to trial in September of 1986, and they were in prison. They were sentenced to a combined total of 33 years. But, so yes, the attackers were caught, but the sad note on this is Wallace Foster. He got diagnosed with cancer not long after the trial, and he passed away in April 1989. So yes, justice was done, but a bit of a downer ending to it, unfortunately. But yeah, not disco.
To cut out a lot of the violence.
Well,
so
disco.
If you know who they are, please do ring in. If you can help before these two men strike again, this is the number: 01811 8055. 01811 8055. If you prefer, you can call Surrey Police at Addleston. The number there is Weybridge 45544. That's 0932 for Weybridge 45544.
Now, if you haven't had a chance to write the other numbers down, they are all on CFAX if you have that. That's on page 186, and they're there for the rest.
There's the second ambition of this series. One, to get disco, get its definition changed to annoying or bad. And our second objective, bring back CFAX.
Of the week. And if you don't have a telephone or can't get through, drop us a line. Here's the address: Crimewatch UK, BBC TV Centre, London W12 8QT. Our main number here is easy to remember, and we'll be here all evening until midnight, so please ring if you do think you can help in any way.
As always, we'll be back to tell you what.
Yes, Channel 4 Teletext 2. We need Bamboozle back in our lives.
Develops in an hour from now. That's Crimewatch UK update here on BBC One. Well, we're running a few minutes late, but just after 11:05. If you can't stay up till then, please remember what we say each month. That is that we cover cases police are most anxious to solve. In other words, very violent and nasty crimes. But violence is the exception, not the rule. So please don't have nightmares. Do sleep well.
And just before we go, in fact, take a look at these rather fine chairs. They're mahogany and leather with a carved crest and motto.
They
belong
chairs.
to Edinburgh District Council. 64 of them have been stolen over a period of months while renovations have been in progress. Now, no councillor likes to lose his seat.
Not been a great month for Edinburgh Council.
Give us a ring.
We'll be waiting for your call. For the moment, good night.
Good night.
Okay, that's the end of that particular edition of Crimewatch. That was their first birthday. Happy belated birthday to Crimewatch. You know, we're only, what was that, 40 years late? Yeah, now that feels old. No birthday cake. Disappointing. So yeah, but that's the end of this edition. Bit of a mixed bag. Couldn't find out as much as I wanted on some cases where the trail just went cold. So hopefully I should be back doing this again. Hopefully next week. We'll have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this, please feel to like and subscribe. All the good YouTube stuff. And I will see you soon. And until then, don't have nightmares.